Hello dear students, welcome back again to Chinmoy's YouTube channel. So yesterday you have already gone through the previous episode of circulatory system, that is part 1. So today I am here with a brand new episode of circulatory system part 2. So let us see what is there in today's episode. Now, by the end of this lesson, we will be able to know or discuss about these following points. That is, how the circulation of blood takes place in heart, what is double circulation, and why is it called double circulation. So, what is the reason behind calling it double circulation? What is heartbeat? What is cardiac cycle in details? With diagram, we will learn that. What is pulse and what is blood pressure. So, these all 5 topics we are going to discuss today in today's class. So if you have not yet subscribed to my channel, please do subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to like and share my videos with your friends, those who are also studying in 8th standard. And as I am following the ICSE curriculum, you will be getting updates of all the lessons which I am posting and I will be posting in the near future. So stay tuned, stay updated and subscribe to my channel. So let us start with today's episode of circulatory system. Now first we are here with circulation of blood. So what does this mean? So circulation of blood means the heart is pumping blood continuously. So this is the structure of a heart. So internal structure of a heart. So that we have discussed in the previous class also. So what is the internal structure of the heart? We know. So heart is continuously pumping blood. Now the right auricle here, the right atrium or the right auricle, it receives the deoxygenated blood from the 2 major veins. So what are the 2 major veins? Through the superior vena cava, that is from the upper part of the body, the deoxygenated blood is carried by superior vena cava, and from the lower part of the body it is carried through inferior vena cava. So all these deoxygenated blood, they are all deposited in the right atrium. Now from the right auricle, the blood flows into the right ventricle. So it is flowing now into the right ventricle, and then through the pulmonary arteries it is taken to the lungs, where it is again purified and it is again oxygenated. And after being oxygenated, that blood only is brought to the left auricles through the pulmonary veins. So it's a cyclical process. So it is being brought by the superior vena cava and the inferior vena cava to the right atrium, from the right atrium to the right ventricle, from the right ventricle it is passed through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs, and the lungs is again purifying this deoxygenated blood, and it is brought to the left auricle by the pulmonary veins. So is it clear to all? So this is a very simple process. Just we have discussed about the right side of the heart now. Now in the next slide we will be discussing about the left side. Now here the same internal structure diagram I have taken. So now what is happening there? We have told about the right atrium, the blood flow to the right ventricle and to the pulmonary artery to the lungs, and then back to the left atrium. So from the left auricle, the oxygenated blood flows to the left ventricle. So now from the left auricle, the lungs, from the lungs the pulmonary veins are bringing the oxygenated blood to the left atrium. So from the left atrium it is again passing on to the left ventricle. Okay, now next comes the largest artery or the aorta. It is dividing the blood to the different parts of the body tissue. So from the left ventricle the blood is carried through the aorta to different parts of the body. Okay, the aorta is the largest artery of the body which is taking the blood to different parts of the body tissues. When the blood passes through the capillaries now, and oxygen and the nutrients are delivered to the cell, while carbon dioxide and other wastes are collected by the blood. So when the blood is passing, now you should know that when the blood is passing through the cells, the oxygen and the nutrients are absorbed by the cells, and the waste products, the carbon dioxides, are collected by the blood itself. So the blood is becoming deoxygenated, and thus it is getting deoxygenated and come back to the right auricle and completing one round of circulation. So this is how the circulation of blood is completed in the heart. So we have started from the right atrium to the right ventricle to the pulmonary artery, and again back through the pulmonary veins to the left atrium, to the left ventricle, through the aorta to different parts of the body, and thus it is getting circulated throughout the body. So this is all about the circulation of blood. Now let us see what is there in store for us in the next slide. Now the next topic here is the double circulation. So why is it called double circulation? Now see this diagram here. Now first we will say that for completing one round of circulation in the body, the blood passes twice to the heart, and so it's called the double circulation. So why it is named so? Because completing one round, it is passing twice through the heart. So why it is called? The first is the pulmonary circulation. So pulmonary, between the heart and the lungs, is called the pulmonary circulation. So it is starting from the right ventricle. See, it is starting from the right ventricle to the lungs, and from the lungs to the left auricle. So first it is starting from the right ventricle. From the right ventricle, it is taken by the pulmonary arteries to the lungs, and from the lungs it is being again purified and carried back. Just try to recall, back to the left auricle by the pulmonary vein. So this part is called the pulmonary circulation. So this is the circulatory system, suppose. So if this is the heart, it is superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. We have told they are bringing blood from the upper and the lower part of the body. It is then from the auricles, it is then passed on to the ventricles. From the ventricles to the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary artery is bringing it to the lungs. The lungs again, after purifying it, is bringing back to the heart. The heart again, it is from the left auricle to the left ventricle and through the aorta to different parts of the body. So this, for this one cycle, it is passing twice through the heart, and this is called the pulmonary circulation. Now this double circulation, the circulation of blood between the heart and the other body organs, that is from the left ventricle to the body parts through the systemic aorta, it is called the systemic circulation. So both these circulations take place in rhythmic manner. So this together constitute the cardiac cycle. So first from the right ventricle to different parts of the body, then from the left ventricles to from the right ventricle to the lungs through the pulmonary artery, and from the left ventricle to different parts of the body through aorta, is called the systemic circulation. So both these circulations, they are taking place in a rhythmic manner, together constituting a cardiac cycle. So this constitutes the cardiac cycle in full. So just remember this diagram, this schematic diagram. So if you are trying to remember this diagram, and if you have already understood the previous slide where I have taught you the circulation of blood, so these two combine together and will give you a clear idea of what this double circulation method is. So that is why, as the blood is passing through the heart twice, it is called double circulation. So what is heartbeat? So all the heart muscles, they are not contracting at the same time. Okay, so all the heart muscles means the muscles of the auricles and the ventricles, they are not contracting all together. So there are two phases like systole and the diastole, auricular systole, ventricular systole, auricular diastole, and ventricular diastole. So these are the new terms. So what is happening here? The auricles are contracting first, and they are forcing the blood to flow into the ventricles. Now a fraction of a second later only, the ventricles start contracting to push the blood through the pulmonary arteries and the aorta. So first the auricles are they are contracting, and then after a fraction of a second only, the ventricles contract and they are pushing the blood into the pulmonary arteries and the aorta. Then the auricles, they are relaxing, and the blood flows into them from the pulmonary veins and the superior and the inferior vena cava. So there are two veins, like two superior vena cava and inferior vena cava. So this we have already told. So then the auricles are relaxing and the blood is flowing into them from the pulmonary veins and the vena cava. Now by this time the ventricles have already emptied and the whole heart is in relaxed condition. Now this is referred to as the heartbeat. So by the time the ventricles have already emptied and the heart is in relaxed condition, this is called the heartbeat. So the auricles are contracting first, then they are relaxing, and the second time, in a fraction of a second later, the ventricles are contracting. So when the auricles are also relaxing and the blood is flowing from the pulmonary veins and the vena cava into it, and by this time the ventricles have also emptied their whole blood and the whole heart is in relaxed condition. So this phase is referred to as the heartbeat. So is it clear to all? So this phase is referred to as the heartbeat. Okay, so this phase, when the heart is in relaxed phase and they have also emptied, all the ventricles have emptied and the whole heart is relaxed, so this is referred to as a heartbeat. Now we will move on to the sequence of cycles, so the cardiac cycle, events which are happening one after the other for a complete heartbeat. So how we are getting this heartbeat, we should know it in details, right? So we should know it, and I have given in the next slide, I have given you the diagram, and we will try to understand that as much as we can. Now in this cardiac cycle, what is happening? So what is cardiac cycle? Actually, it is a sequence of events, that is a chain of events that is taking place during the completion of one heartbeat. So full chain of events which are taking place during one heartbeat is called the cardiac cycle. So what is a systole and a diastole? So a contraction is termed as systole and the relaxation is called as diastole. Okay, so first the contraction is taking place, then the relaxation. So one complete heartbeat is the sequence of cardiac cycle, which consists of one systole and one diastole, and the full event is constituting of 0.8 seconds. So full cardiac cycle is having 0.8 seconds. So this full cardiac cycle is completed in full 0.8 seconds. So the contraction is called systole, the contraction is called systole, and the relaxation is called diastole. And the relaxation is called diastole. Is it clear? So the contraction is called systole and the relaxation is called diastole. Now first we are starting with the atrial systole. So what is happening in the atrial systole or auricular systole? Now at this time the two auricles, what they are doing? They are acting as a pump. They are forcing the blood from this their auricle to the ventricle, and their ventricles are in diastole at this time. So the ventricle is in diastole and the atrium is in systole, and the ventricles, as they are in diastole in this time, during this auricular systole, what is happening? The auricular muscles, they contract hardly, and the openings of the vena cava, that is the inferior vena cava, superior vena cava, and the pulmonary veins, they close. So the entry of blood into the auricles, both the right and the left auricle, is stopped as the vena cava and the opening of the pulmonary vein is closed. So this phase is only atrial systole, pushing of the blood from the auricles to the ventricle. And the tricuspid valve and the bicuspid valves, they open and the blood gushingly they enters the ventricle. Now at the end of this atrial systole, the two auricles, they are relaxing and the blood in the ventricles, they are having a great pressure then. And what is happening then, as the blood is flowing from the auricles gushing to the ventricles, then comes the ventricular systole. So then next comes the ventricular systole. Now what happens in ventricular systole? The semilunar valves open. The semilunar valves are opening. The valve at the base of aorta, they are opening, because in this phase the ventricular systole, they start, the ventricles, they are in the systole phase. So when the onset of atrial diastole, the ventricles start contracting. The bicuspid and the tricuspid valves, they close to prevent the backflow. So they have closed. The bicuspid and the tricuspid valves, they have closed to prevent the backflow of the blood to the auricles, because the auricles are in the relaxed phase now, they are empty. So when the pressure in the ventricles, they increase, the semilunar valves and the blood is passed to the great arteries, that is the aorta and the pulmonary artery. They gush out the blood from the ventricles to these. Now this is over. Now AV valves, they are the AV valves, they are atrioventricular valves, they are bicuspid and the tricuspid valves. At this phase, they are closed. Now next what happens? Next phase is the atrial and the ventricular diastole. So this is also called the joint diastole. Okay, is it clear? It is also called the joint diastole, as both the diastole are falling in the same time, atrial and ventricular. So what is happening? At the end of the ventricular systole, the ventricles relax, and also at this stage the artery are still in relaxed condition. They are still in their diastolic phase only. Since all the heart chambers are in diastolic phase, they are all in relaxed conditions. The ventricles have pushed out their bloods to the pulmonary artery and the aorta, and the artery or the auricles are also in emptied condition. They are relaxed. So this is the joint diastole, and at this phase again the valves of the what we can say that during this phase the blood continues to flow in the auricles from the great veins, that is from the pulmonary veins and from the superior and the inferior vena cava. And as the artery, it gets filled with blood, the pressure in them rises again, and it becomes greater than it is in the relaxed ventricles. Then again the AV valves open and the auricles they start pumping the blood into the ventricle. So again it comes back to the atrial systole. So this phase is the phase when the atrial and the ventricular diastole is together happening, and this is called the joint diastole. And in this phase both the auricles and the ventricles are in relaxed condition. So auricles start receiving blood from the pulmonary veins and the vena cava, while the pressure till then it's not as high as to push the blood into the ventricles also. So the ventricles are also in the relaxed phase. So this is all the complete cardiac cycle, and this happens in 0.8 second. Is it clear? Now we will move on to the, now this diagram also is the same thing. It has discussed the atrial systole when the blood is being pushed to the ventricles, then comes the ventricular systole when the blood is being pushed out from the ventricles to the aorta and the pulmonary artery. Then the semilunar valves, they are closing to prevent the backflow, and both the ventricular diastole and the atrial diastole, they fall together, and both the heart, all the heart 4 chambers are in relaxed condition. So this full is the cardiac cycle. Please do go through it. This is very important for your exams, and please do learn this diagram with this seconds, 0.1, 0.3 and 0.4 seconds. So this is very important for you all, and please do go through it with the label diagram. So let us move on to the next part. Now what is pulse? Now we should know, till now we have already studied about what is heartbeat, we have studied about cardiac cycle. Now we should know that is what is the pulse, or the pulse rate, what doctors are checking either in our wrists or at the side of our neck. So what is pulse? Now when the left ventricle contracts, the blood moves into the arteries under high pressure. We have just now studied in cardiac cycle that during the ventricular systole, the ventricles are contracting and the blood is moving into the arteries under high pressure. Now this pressure is exerted by the blood on the walls of arteries. Now they are getting stretched by this pressure, and as the ventricles, they relax, the pressure comes down. So when they are pushing the blood, they are in high pressure condition, and walls of the arteries, they are getting stretched by this pressure, and as the ventricles relax, the pressure comes down. Now the stretching and the relaxing of the arteries with each heartbeat is felt as a throbbing pulse. So when the ventricle contracts, the blood is moving out of the arteries, creating a pressure, and again when the arteries are getting stretched by this pressure, as the ventricles, they are relaxing, the pressure comes down. So the stretching and the relaxing of the arteries with each heartbeat is called this throbbing is called the pulse. Now our pulse rate is we can say that your pulse is the rate at which our heart beats. So how the heart beats is our pulse rate, and the pulse can be felt at the side of the neck or at the wrist or near the base of the thumb. Is it clear? So at the side of the neck, you can press with your fingers, you can see the throbbing beat, that is the stretching and the relaxing of the arteries, which each heartbeat is felt as the throbbing called the pulse. Now healthy adult, it is about 70 to 75. In healthy adults, it is about 70 to 75 per minute. Okay. So in healthy adult, we can say that the pulse speed is 70 to 75 beats per minute. Now, what is blood pressure? The heart is always exerting a pressure to push the blood through the blood vessels. Okay. So as the blood is moving to the blood vessels, it is always exerting a pressure to push the blood through the blood vessels. The force of blood exerted against the arterial walls by the heart is called blood pressure. So the force of blood which is exerted against the arterial walls by the heart is called the blood pressure, and it varies from one part of the body to another. It is always varying from one part of the body to another. So blood pressure, when it is measured in hand, it's different, and when it is measured in leg is also different. So what are the things which we should know regarding blood pressure? So first we should know that the average pressure produced in the ventricles when they contract and pump the blood into the aorta and the pulmonary artery is called the systolic pressure. So the average pressure when the ventricles are contracting and they are pushing the blood into the aorta and the pulmonary artery is called the systolic pressure, and it is equal to the pressure exerted by the 120 mm of Hg. So 120 mm of Hg is the systolic pressure, and the average pressure produced when the ventricles get filled with blood from the auricles, that is called the diastolic pressure, and it is the lower limit, and it is about 80 mm per Hg. So the pressure of produced by the ventricles to pump the blood to the aorta and the pulmonary veins is the systolic pressure, and the average pressure which is produced by the ventricles when they are getting filled from the blood from the auricles, it is called the diastolic pressure. It is about 80 mm Hg. So the normal blood pressure is 120 by 80 mm Hg. The instrument which is used to measure the blood pressure is sphygmomanometer. So you have already studied all this in 6th standard. So in 8th you are having a bit more, and in again 10th you'll have a bit more. So it varies from age, sex and health of a person. So this is all about today's class, today's lesson. So we have already dealt with many topics like cardiac cycle, heartbeat, pulse, blood pressure, and we have already told you about the double circulation as well as the circulation of blood. So these are all the important topics which I have dealt today. So please go through it, and don't forget to go through your textbook once also. If you're having any doubts, write in my comment box so that I can get back to you. So please do subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to share it with your friends so that they can also learn these lessons in a systematic manner, as I am giving you the notes and the label diagrams also. So do subscribe, stay tuned, stay updated with all my lessons. And in the next episode, I'll be teaching you about the abnormal functioning of the heart. So what will happen when the heart is not functioning properly? So if you subscribe to my channel, you will keep on getting the updates what I'm posting next. Thank you.